Peak conference has ever been, more than 2 decades. They're leaderless, angry, and upset over how they got here and worried about what's next. There's backstabbing, bad blood, and mistrust. And we will get into all of that in 1 second. But first, let's go to our guest this morning, and very excited to welcome back to the show Brilyn Hollyhand, conservative commentator, co-chair on the RNC Youth Advisory Council. Brilyn, thanks for dropping by this Wednesday.
Ben, good morning. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for having me back. It's awesome to be back with the great people of Memphis.
Well, we enjoyed the last time we talked, and I think it's not only because you know your stuff, you know your facts, but you're a young guy, and we're really going to need young people, guys and gals, and all of the other genders, God knows how many there are, to really push us over the finish line in 2024. But first, let's talk about these Gen Z students at these campuses with the latest developments coming out of the Middle East. Students at George Washington University chanting "From the river to the sea" here in Memphis. University of Memphis students chanting the same exact thing. Brilyn, this is an explicit call for genocide against Israel and the Jewish people. It's conceivable that these are our peers.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, Ben. What we've seen on college campuses across the country since this war broke out last week has been absolutely disgusting. I mean, dozens of student groups in the name of communism, socialism, and even some in BLM have been cheering on this brutal attack by Hamas. Just the other day, a group formed in Times Square to support Hamas. They waved their battle flags, and some were even waving Nazi flags. What happened to never forgetting 9/11? Just a few blocks away from where the World Trade Centers fell, terrorists were literally chanting death to America. And, you got to ask, how did this happen? Iran has famously said that if they ever wanted to attack America, they would come in through our southern border. Well, guess what, Ben? Our border is wide open, and clearly they're here in America because we saw them just last week. But you know what's even more disgusting than these protests by people of my generation? The lack of response by our president, Joe Biden. The day it was announced that, we're at 9 U.S. citizens have been killed, and I think around 14 have been taken captive, he threw a barbecue party in his backyard at the White House. The next day, instead of responding, he called it a day before lunchtime. He went back, he took a nap, he went back to the residency. He's an international embarrassment. He's unfit to serve the American people, and it's past time for House Republicans to impeach him.
Wow. Well said. And, it's very interesting watching what's happening with Biden. Of course, he had a press conference yesterday, refused to take questions, slept through it, really. But he was talking about new support for Israel, but a little too late. When you're sending $6 billion to Iran, and this is just the latest payment over to Iran, which supports terrorism. We know that, and they have come out and all but said, according to the Wall Street Journal, that this was from us, and we're using Hamas as a proxy, but this is just one. $50 billion to Iran since President Biden took office. I mean, this is really unforgivable, and as you said, impeachable, Brilyn.
Absolutely, yes. Just a few weeks ago, Joe Biden sent $6 billion to Iran. We all called him off then. We said Iran's a terrorist country. We don't need to be supporting them. Just a few weeks later, unfortunately, we've seen Hamas, this proxy group, working on behalf of Iran, invade Israel. This is an invasion. This isn't a conflict. This isn't a small attack. This is an invasion of war. They're brutally killing Israelis on the street, and they're brutally killing American citizens. The blood is on Joe Biden's hands, and he must answer for this.
You mentioned Black Lives Matter, and I think I wanted to spend a quick second on this. Black Lives Matter LA, Los Angeles, they're justifying the mass casualty, the mass murder of Jews by these terrorists because, in their words, they were simply resisting Israel. And here's their quote: "Let us understand the resistance in Palestine as an attempt to tear down the gates of the world's largest open-air prison." And then Black Lives Matter Chicago, a little bit more direct, as they shared an art piece of a Hamas paraglider with a Palestine flag. Just absolutely gaulish and wild, Brilyn.
Well, the terrorist group that BLM is supporting has been cutting babies' heads off in the street, literally chopping the heads off of innocent Israeli babies. Their only crime being Jewish. That was it. We're going back to World War II here, where you have these people defending Nazi Germany for committing genocide. Like you said at the top of the segment, this is literal genocide. We've been calling BLM out since early 2020 for supporting things like this, but they're literally supporting the brutal murder of babies in the streets of Israel, and now they're supporting the brutal murder of American citizens. So what lives matter to BLM? Because it must just be their lives, so they can sit in their cushy houses that donors have paid millions of dollars for and put out these statements and graphics and call it a day.
All right, let's move on. The new House Speaker could be named today. And that's what they're telling us. Today's the day Republicans said they would decide a new speaker. The party controlling this meeting last night, where there's really no consensus on if they'll choose the top two candidates. But you have got Jim Jordan and Steve Scalise. Right now, do they appear to have the 217 votes needed to become speaker? I'll throw it over to you. What do you make of all of it?
Well, like you said, Ben, today is the day. The House is supposed to elect a new speaker today. Like I said, supposed to. It's not a guarantee. You know, the magic number of votes that's needed is 217. So 217 is the number that your viewers or your listeners need to be watching for all day. You know, right now, the candidates are Jim Jordan, House Judiciary Committee Chair, and Steve Scalise, the House Majority Leader. Neither of them are at 217. Neither of them are close to 217 at the moment. Now, we know that a lot of votes were swayed last night in the meeting, but there's not too much committal, too much support that's been announced since the meeting. So hopefully today they're all going to come out unified behind one person, but I doubt that, because remember last time it took us 15 rounds to elect a speaker. That's the last thing we need today as a country. We need to be unified as a party. We need to, come together, elect a new speaker that will support our conservative agenda, that will come together and negotiate our conservative budget before the deadline in just a few weeks. Then we need somebody that puts America first, not Ukraine first. We need somebody that will close our border, will stand up to Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer. And maybe, even if they have the guts to go impeach Joe Biden for these offenses that we've talked about in this segment. That's who I want to be our next speaker. That's who House Republicans should elect today.
I agree with you, and I think the base is feeling that frustration as well. Let's get past the rhetoric, these press conferences. You know, we appreciate the House Republicans doing their due diligence, but let's be very clear. The Democrats, they play hardball. Brilyn,
oh, yeah.
they truly do. They subpoena after subpoena after subpoena. Look what they did with Russia. And so at some point, I think the American people, Republicans, have a little bit of fatigue with all of the press conferences. We want action. We want it now.
Absolutely. You know, the House Democrats impeached Donald Trump twice in his presidency. We've got a lot more evidence on Joe Biden than they ever did for a fake phone call with Ukraine or a fake insurrection at the Capitol. We have literal evidence of multiple crimes. Even most recently, like we just said, this $6 billion of blood on Joe Biden's hands for the innocent murder of not just U.S. citizens, but obviously, hundreds of Israeli citizens. We have real hard evidence to impeach Joe Biden, to, investigate Hunter Biden for crimes against America. And all House Republicans have done up to this moment is hold press conferences, which is great. James Comer and Jim Jordan, they're great and they're doing good work, but they need to actually do the work. They need to subpoena Joe Biden. They need to subpoena Hunter Biden, have them come testify before Congress, and then hold an impeachment hearing. It's past time. Brilyn
is a 17-year-old political commentator, a young guy, but smart, as you can tell, founder and editor-in-chief of the Truth Gazette, a conservative voice fighting back against the fake news media. We'll end with this because a piece just came out in townhall.com written by you, and the headline grabbed my attention, which is good. Journalist, teacher in high school, whoever is teaching you, great job, because it's that headline in that first sentence, the lead. How football can help the GOP win Gen Z. How can they use football to help GOP candidates win in 2024?
So, Ben, I live in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. My house is like 10 minutes away from the University of Alabama, the home of the greatest college football program in history. We have 18 national championships. I would be missing a huge opportunity if I didn't use football analogies to get my point across when I speak to college students. So just a few weeks ago, I was on the campus of UA. I've been traveling to other campuses. I speak to them about why they need to vote. Well, I was going to use a football analogy to try to get my point across. So your audience can go read the article I just posted on my Twitter, it's the most recent post. But the main top 3 points are put points on the board early, make sure we go vote early or get our votes in before the deadline. To tune out the rat poison, that's something that our head football coach, Nick Saban, says a lot. Tune out this external noise by the liberal mainstream media telling us, oh, Republicans have no shot. There's no reason to get out of your house and go vote. There's always a reason to go vote. You need to vote Republican up and down the ballot. And the third point is really the most important, is get on offense. For too long, Republicans have been on defense, and we've been hiding in the corner. We need to be on offense. We need to be going out there before the Democrats. We need to be taking games before the Democrats. It's past time for that, and I really enjoyed that town hall gave me the opportunity to do this piece on behalf of my position, co-chairing the RNC's inaugural Youth Advisory Council. I'm really grateful for them. I'm really grateful for you having me on this morning, Ben. It was awesome to speak to people in Memphis, Tennessee.
All right, we'll leave it there, Brilyn, real quick before you go. Where can people find out? What's your socials? What's your handle?
Sure. My name is Brilyn Hollyhand. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It's all at Brilyn Hollyhand, and my website is thetruthgazette.com.
All right, good stuff. Going to leave it there. Appreciate you dropping by.
Thank you, Ben. Anytime.
All
Have
right.
a good day.
Hey, folks, it's Michael Berry, and the flooring in your home sets the tone for that room. Is it a formal room or an informal room? Is it a daytime or an evening room? What's your budget? How much wear and tear is going to come through that room? What's the feel? What's the vibe? The good news is you don't have to know in advance. Patrick Flaherty and his design team at their 2 design locations in Cypress and the Woodlands or your living room can help you make all those decisions and give you a lifetime warranty. 281-37